Today is a special day, last day of Vita and my 100th video, so let me share with you my life's history. I like to think that my life started even before I was born, more specifically May 19th, the day that my folks got married in Union Square in the Culture Center. It was also the place where they both converted to Nichiren Buddhism, making me what they call a fortune baby. Around 2 months later, once the fireworks died down, I finally came out of my mama's womb and right away had my first near-death experience. Umbilical cords, man, they are dangerous things. All was good though, aside from my parents arguing what they should name me. For a whole day I was Girl Gallagher. It's one of the reasons why I like being called by my last name. Even though we were living in the best part of New York City, it wasn't even a month later till my parents took me traveling, way more than most babies or even normal people go traveling in 1 year. Mostly hung out with both of my families in Peru and Hawaii. Nope, my dad's family is from Oregon, just some of them moved to Hawaii. Finally, when I was a year old, my parents were both working, so I got stuck in daycare most of the time. Believe it or not, I do remember bits and pieces of being there, like learning to potty in a toilet and learning that rain is my favorite type of weather. When I turned 3, my folks decided it was time to move into a house in Queens. Most of my childhood still took place in Manhattan though, like that one time in band camp. Lol JK, I mean summer camp. I had just turned 4 and my parents were still working daily, but this time my dad decided to work in the summer camp that I was going to. Every day the drive to Manhattan would consist of me singing loudly to the soundtrack of Hercules. My dad enjoyed it so much that he bragged to his friends that I was a great singer, and that's how my passion for singing got started. After that summer, it was time for actual school. You know, kindergarten. Now, you'd be surprised how mixed race this area was, so when there was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed pretty boy in my class, he quickly became my first crush. Along with the first crush, my dad bought me my first dog. He brought 2 ladies over with 3 pups, and I got to pick my favorite. 2 of the pups were adorable and crazy fun, but I wanted the pup that was sad. I knew her name right away as well, Rosala. Seriously, no idea how I came up with that name, it just came to me. Got to hang out with her for a long time up until my mom took me to Peru for the summer. Yes, I went to summer school in Peru. That was probably one of my worst summers. My Peruvian family kept teasing me and telling me that there were ghosts, homeless men that specifically eat children, and little girls that revert to violence when making false accusations. To make things worse, when I got back home and entered 1st grade, speech counselors told my folks that I needed to attend ESL for 5 years because I couldn't tell the difference between Spanish and English. It's also when bullying started taking a role in my life. Started with hair pulling, then physical beatings. I was a quiet kid, so no one knew. Not to mention that year my mom sold Rosala. But for a good reason. I was going to have a baby sister. Things got better after. At 7, I made my first best friend just by saying, "You're beautiful." I know, I'm so smooth. At 8, I started taking dancing lessons. I was one of the top dancers in my class for about 5 years. At 9, I discovered storytelling and writing. I ended up writing a new story almost every year, and I still do. As I was blowing up the candles on my 10th birthday, I wished to stay 9 forever because I knew being a preteen meant that I was entering hell. Man, was I more than right. Little did I know that was the year where I first started having panic attacks. But we didn't define them as that. Doctors thought I had motion sickness since I had to take the bus every morning. Didn't make too much sense since I was perfectly fine taking the bus home. So that problem was ignored for the next couple of years. Entering middle school was a whole lot of moving from school to school to school. Before I found the right school, the school before it completely tore me apart. The bullying only got worse and eventually made me change who I was. I started cursing and became a bit violent to defend myself. My new school almost changed my perspective on a lot of things. I was still a bit violent and bitter because of hormones and kids are just mean. I did make some cool friends and even started bettering myself because of inspiring teachers. Hell, one of them got me to stop eating fast food for good. When high school happened, I wanted an identity, especially since I got my braces off and I was looking better. I started shopping at Hot Topic, finding my own music, and even wore black nail polish for 3 years. I just wanted to be different from everyone in my school because acting and looking like a thug was the big thing then. I didn't like feeling alone though, so I was on the internet and that's when I found YouTube. Honestly, I did start feeling a couple of classes because all I wanted to do was talk to my online friends rather than do homework, but YouTube really did help me out a lot. That year I also picked up guitar. I didn't take it too seriously though because I had a very low self-esteem and thought I wasn't good enough to be a musician. But again, YouTube completely changed that because I got great feedback. My senior year of high school truly changed my life. There was a crazy amount of pressure to graduate, apply to colleges, and survive the last year without any drama. Being the goody two-shoes I was only allowed more problems to happen. I won't get into details, but let's just say that there was a trip where some things happened and I was upset, but didn't realize that being too obvious about about my anger would lead into a horrible rumor to go around and get me outcasted for good. That's when my depression kicked in, and the only thing I could think of was to get as far away from these people as I could. It's when I noticed I never belonged here in the first place. Aside from all the mess, YouTubers really did help me out because they made me feel like everything was gonna be okay. My first kiss was even from a YouTuber. Sadly though, I fell in love and freaked him out. So then there was college. Oh, Portland State University. Totally surprised me that I got accepted, especially since my grades were a bit below average, but I wanted this more than anything. My desperation to get away from my old life and my anger finally led to something kinda great. Portland, Oregon was exactly what I needed. There were more people like me, almost everyone was more than kind, and the best part is that lots of them were happy. Now, getting away from my problems wasn't the only reason why I went to PSU. I needed to grow up. I felt like I was babied most of my life, and if I didn't take action now, I was gonna get stuck. Life was good. I picked film as my major because of the obvious reason, YouTube. I had great friends, and people knew me as the really nice girl. People wanted to be my friend. Hell, I even got my first boyfriend that year. He was a jerk, but I'm glad I went through that experience. The bad always follows the good though. This is when my panic attacks came back. I had no idea what was going on with me, and it wasn't until a couple months later that my counselor told me that I had emetophobia. I wasn't going to let that stop me from living in Portland though. Portland was my fresh start, and I felt like I was finding myself along the process. Another year rolls by, and I'm doing my best to conquer my anxiety. Life just keeps getting better. I moved into my own studio, had the most wonderful boyfriend, and was loving all my classes. But all good things come to an end, right? My boyfriend broke up with me. I decided that I should move in with roommates because being alone while having panic attacks felt like death, and my depression hit me so hard that I felt like if I kept going to school, I would start failing. My parents told me though, if I don't go to school, I'm coming back home. That was the last thing I wanted. So I really did try my best to pull through, but I was more than weak. I ended up going to the hospital 3 times in under 2 months. My roommates created more stress and drama, making me feel worthless, and I was having panic attacks just by being or feeling alone in public. I caved in. I came back home thinking that I would only be here for a semester so I could build my strength again, but I felt like it was too late for me. That my plans were completely ruined, and feeling like I was constantly dying wasn't worth it. I needed a year off. I needed to be surrounded by my family. But trying to get my life back is probably the hardest thing I've ever worked on, because the constant fear that I'm going to go through this again, or most likely even worse, won't stop playing in the back of my head. Here I am, a year and a half later, still at a very low point in my life, but choose to ignore it and slap a smile on my face because maybe, just maybe, if I make myself feel happy, I'll become strong enough one day and get back on track. I'm trying extremely hard to love myself completely with my anxiety attacks and other flaws, because for the most part, I think I'm fucking great. I just wish this wasn't such an issue. My anxiety has revealed which person is a true friend and who's just passing by. I'd rather not put people to that test because it makes me feel paralyzed. I hate that my life has become such a depressing story, so I don't really like talking about it. Here's the reason why I seem so happy though. Just because my life sucks doesn't mean I'm gonna bring the rest of the world down to my level. If I can make a stranger smile, well then at least I'm doing something right with my life.